There's a new CISA advisory that every MSP should be aware of. It was released May 11th and actually specifically calls out MSPs. It's called Alert AA 22-131A, protecting against cyber threats to managed service providers and their customers. By now, you probably know what CISA is, but if not, here's a little refresher. CISA is the cybersecurity lead for the United States federal government. Basically, they quarterback all the different organizations together, includes the FBI, CIA, NSA. They regularly issue alerts, which you can subscribe to at cisa.gov/USCERT. Basically, the alert says that these different governments all over the world are seeing an uptick on attacks on MSPs. Hackers target MSPs because they can use them as an entry point to all of their customers. They specifically mentioned the UK, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand all seeing the same trend. The alert continued to specifically spell out recommendations for MSPs. You might be familiar with the recommendations like this before. They include general things and general security best practices like hardening and updating devices, improving password cyber hygiene, mitigating against phishing attacks, improving monitoring, logging, and MFA, least privilege, network segmentation, zero trust, removing obsolete accounts, authentication, etc. But there was one recommendation that I wanted to specifically call out. I thought it was really interesting, especially for the MSP community. It reads like this: promote transparency. Both MSPs and their customers will benefit from contractual agreements that clearly define responsibilities. MSPs, when negotiating the terms of a contract with their customer, should provide a clear explanation of the services the customer is purchasing, services the customer is not purchasing, and all contingencies for incident response and recovery. Customers should ensure they have a thorough understanding of the security services provided by their MSP via the contractual agreement and address any security requirements that fall outside the scope of the contract. Note, contracts should detail how and when MSPs notify the customer of an incident affecting the customer's environment. I thought this was a really interesting line. It shows the importance of being able to communicate cyber hygiene and cyber risk to your end users. It's also specifically saying you need to spell out to your customers in your contract what is covered and what is not covered. I think it's a good time for any MSP to take a look back at their contract. Potentially, you might want to show this to your lawyer, make sure you're actually covering this, and review the cybersecurity services offered to all of your customers.